Mike Griffith, I hope you're having a great day, sir. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
Hey, Ryan, how are you?
I'm good, man. I hope you are too. Have you made it out on the beach yet?
No, man. No, this ain't beach time, man. This is work time. We got ADs and coaches. Well, the coaches have left. So presidents, stories to file, tapes to transcribe. I mean, it's I'll have time for all that, But how often do you get to be in the presence of all the the decision makers and the movers and the shakers of the SEC? So this is a huge reporting opportunity to glean some knowledge and get some perspective on the direction the league's going.
Mike, do you think the ban of alcohol will be voted on tomorrow? Is that your understanding?
Well, there's some confusion about that, frankly. We're not sure if there will be a vote, and if there is, we don't know which way it'll go. But it's kind of, it almost sounds to me like what's happening is the SEC is going to be very reluctant to allow sales in stadiums just flat out do whatever you want. So it almost sounds like they're, kind of modifying or being a little bit more accepting of what's classified as premium seating where they could sell alcohol. That's what sounds like the compromise here is, well, we don't want it stadium-wide, but if you modify your club level and make it admittance by, this and that and certain, price range, then we could classify that as premium seating. So I guess what I'm kind of getting at is maybe the premium seating is spilling out of the skybox and into the club level where more people would have access to these type of things.
Mike, do you think this all centers around attendance?
Not all of it. I think maybe part of it. I think anytime there's a question like that I don't have a complete answer for, I usually turn to money and say somehow this relates to money. I think this is another way of adding revenue. Schools can't seem to get enough of it. It's not just paying the players the stipend that they get now. They get a pretty good cost of living adjustment, and, in addition to their scholarship and their health insurance and their 24/7 meal plan and these luxury dorms that they're living in now. I'm not saying they're not working hard. They are, and I'm not saying the university doesn't profit. It does. But college players are pretty well taken care of. I think this revenue now is about building even better football buildings, even better facilities, even better dorms. I don't want to use the word pampering, but I'll say that I think student-athletes, by and large, probably have better on-campus housing than the average student. I think their meal plan would probably be the envy. But that's got to be funded, right? So, and you got to pay these administrators. You got to pay the coaches. And I'm not going to tell you the coaches aren't worth it because they are, but you still got to pay them. And there's administrators, and now there's all these coaching assistants, and things like that. So, Ryan, I think it's based on money. I think it's another potential revenue stream.
Hey, Mike, I want to pick your brain about a couple different things. This largest outdoor cocktail party with Georgia and Florida, does that seem to be maybe the discussion of maybe moving those back to own campus locations rather than just the neutral site in Jacksonville?
Well, I mean, if it's a discussion, it's only because Kirby Smart said it, that he was open to, looking at that. And
Right.
Florida and Dan Mullen have said the same thing. I mean, I think you and I have discussed it, and the analogy I used was, what if you told Nick Saban that he couldn't host recruits at the Alabama-LSU game, or the Alabama-Auburn game, for example. You can't have official visitors the week of the Alabama-Auburn game. I don't think he would go
Right.
for that. It's a valuable
No, 100%.
weekend. And so basically Georgia and Florida are giving up 12.5% of their SEC recruiting weekends, and not just any 12.5, but arguably the biggest game on each team's schedule every year, and they can't recruit to that. And, some people have said, well, Kirby Smart, seems to be doing just fine. And I'd tell you, well, not really. He's a few plays and a few players short of beating Alabama the last 2 years and perhaps winning 2 national championships. So I think people forget why these coaches are hired. Kirby Smart wasn't brought in to please the fans. If he was, he'd have the Georgia players up in the stands signing autographs before the game instead of warming up. The guy's been brought in to win a national championship. and that means making decisions that are in the best interest of his players and team, winning the title. And I think it's unbelievably hypocritical of the fan base to say, Kirby, we want you to work 24/7. We want you to push your assistants to the max. We want those kids out there doing voluntary workouts all summer. We want them going through the most stringent weight program. We want them running stadium steps if they get out of line. We want everybody selling out, doing everything they can to win a championship. But we want the game in Jacksonville, even though it hurts your recruiting. That is unbelievable. And you can say it's tradition, and I would tell you that playing Alabama, Auburn, and Birmingham every year is tradition. But speaking of Alabama, good grief, that's a former Alabama beat writer, Glenn Gilboa, I'm shaking hands with now, Ryan. You talk about legends and movers and shakers. Here he is. And if you want to know anything about LSU, what's your Twitter, Glenn?
LSU beat tweet.
LSU beat tweet. Look at this. He's Alabama guy. We'll see you in Athens next week, Super Regional. This is what happens at Destin, folks.
Gotcha. Well, no, it is good to be able to fellowship with a lot of media, different guys. Hey, Mike, you were in that room a couple of days ago when Nick Saban spoke. I know you cover the SEC. You really have a heavy microscope on UGA and all things happening there in Athens. But being in that room with Nick Saban for 8 or 9 minutes, what'd you think? Anything big takeaway from his conversation?
Well, you know, I have come to appreciate Nick Saban to the extent that I went out of my way yesterday to go over and tell him that, and just say I've got a lot of respect, you know, for what you've done in the college game, and just, you know, look him in the eye and with no camera, with no microphone, with no expectation, looking for any answer, just tell the guy that, because what he's done is remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable. And there was a point in time when I didn't think it could continue. I'm way past that. You know, to watch, you know, what Nick has done. And listen, here's the thing. I'm a guy who grew up watching Alabama football. I was born in Mobile, Alabama. And even though I grew up in Michigan, I followed the SEC. And I followed Alabama, and I followed Auburn, and I followed the SEC closely. And, you know, when I went to college and had my first job, my goal was to work in the state of Alabama covering college football. And it took me 2 years at another job to get there, to get to Anniston, where I covered Auburn for 2 seasons and that incredible 11-0, 93 Auburn team, and then to get the job in Mobile, Alabama, and cover the Tide for 4 years and Gene Stallings during that era. So I completely understand and appreciate Alabama football. It's like no other. It's a place, you know, Nick couldn't do what he did at Alabama at Michigan State. He tried. He wouldn't have been able to sustain the success at LSU, I don't believe, like he has Alabama. You're talking about the ultimate, you know, football school in Alabama when it comes to the fans' loyalty and the part of the culture that it plays in Tuscaloosa and around the state. And then you're talking about the ultimate coach when it comes to the innovation, the dedication, the commitment. I mean, look, this guy's got enough to buy his own island and go away and just live happily the rest of his life instead of working these 80-hour weeks and getting on and off airplanes and dealing with the pressure and the stress. And when you don't win a national championship, it's a failure. I mean, my goodness, who would sign up for that? Only somebody as committed as Nick Saban. And only at a place like Alabama would they be willing to give Nick the resources that he needed to build this incredible dynasty where he's been able to plug in coaches from year to maintain a level of excellence. It's really unbelievable. It's remarkable. It's something special. It's something that I would put in the same breath with Paul Bear Bryant. It's something that I appreciate, even though, as I've told you many times before, there's some elements of it that I don't appreciate as much as I appreciated the way, you know, things were when I covered Gene Stallings. When Dabo was on the staff and Dubose and Bruce Arians and Ivy Williams and Woody McCoy, all those old names, and Freddie Kitchens was the quarterback I covered, and Will Friend was on the offensive line, and Sean Alexander was. That era for me will always be special, and I'm probably biased because I was a young reporter, and those coaches opened the doors and turned the tape on and showed me the game of SEC football. They answered the questions. The practices were open. The athletes were open to conversation, phone calls. So that era will always be special to me because that was where I really learned my college football writing roots, if you will. That said, I've got a greater appreciation now for Nick Saban than ever. So Ryan, I'm telling you all this because I went on Feinbaum the other day, and I know I shouldn't read Twitter. I get it. I know there's nutcases out there, but just because I think this is the year Georgia beats Alabama, just because I think that Tua now, we've seen that he's mortal, just like we did Tim Tebow. That doesn't mean that I don't respect Alabama or Nick Saban. I still believe that Alabama football team last year was the best regular season team in history. The numbers bear that out. They had an average victory margin of 35.2 in the regular season, which is the most ever in SEC history, and a year when 8 SEC teams were in the top 25. Tua got hurt. Alabama lost some guys, and it wasn't the same Alabama that played Clemson. Not trying to take anything away from Clemson, but to me, Alabama was the best team in the regular season last year. Just because I think Georgia is going to win the SEC this year doesn't mean I disrespect Nick Saban or Alabama. And I get kind of pissed off when Alabama fans start saying things like I'm hating on Alabama or it's not that. It's pure analysis. So I just feel like Georgia's got a special team this year, and that is as competitive as Alabama will be. I have questions about Tua's ability to stay healthy. He's such an incredible athlete. The way he extends plays, it's almost like he can't help himself. He doesn't go down easy, kind of in a Marcus Mariota way when you look at how Marcus has played at Oregon and with the Tennessee Titans.
Hey, Mike, always appreciate your time. Let me ask you one question. I want you to put your college football fan hat on just for a minute. I know you're a beat reporter. You're a reporter covering UGA and SEC and reporting all things. Mike, you're given full control onto making a decision that improves college football. You've been around this game for a long time. We proposed this to the audience yesterday. Give me one decision that you think would improve this game.
How would I improve college football? I would say...
How would Mike Griffith improve college?
I would say don't put too much salt in the soup. I think it's a great product right now. I've got concerns about paying players and alcohol in stadiums. And I say don't mess with success. I think that expanding the playoff requires a lot of thought. So I'm going to zero in on 1 point. How about that? Zero in on 1 point. Okay. I think whether it's a 14 playoff or an 18 playoff, if your conference has a championship game, you should be required to be eligible for the college football playoff. That would be the one change I would make.
Perfect. You sound a lot. We had Coach Curry and Coach Stallings yesterday. Some of your thoughts that you've shared today kind of remind us of those two conversations that we had with Coach Bill Curry and Coach Gene Stallings yesterday on the program. I do too. Yeah. So, hey, Mike, as always, man, it's good catching up with you. Thank you, sir, for being a part of the show.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it, man. Take care.
Hey, absolutely. Connect with Mike Griffith 32 on the Twitter account, Mike Griffith 32, dognation.com. AJC helping us out. Mike Griffith helping us out there.